Thank you. Can you please call the first witness?
C'est José Saint-Ange and Annalise Saint-Ange.
The whole truth, nothing but the truth, and nothing but the truth, so help me God. So help me God.
I, José Saint-Ange, do swear that the evidence I shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help me God.
Thank you very much, Annalise Saint-Ange and Mr. Saint-Ange. Nice to see you again. Thank you for coming today. So we understand that you were representing Mrs. Wilmot and Mr. Bonatard in
Yes.
case 290 today. Yes, so you are representing the complainants.
Yes.
So thank you for coming today. We would like you to set the complaint out before the commission. Please take your time. If you need to adjourn at any time, please let us know. And we're happy to accommodate you, but thank you both for coming.
Thank you. Madam Chair, Commissioners, thank you for having us today. It's the second time I've been here, and I will just read through. We are here today representing my mother-in-law, Maryse Wilmot, and her brother, Bernard Bontard. Unfortunately, Bernard cannot be here today as he is in South Africa, and my mother-in-law is 82 years of age, and it would be too much for her to present today. Actually, she's going to be 83 tomorrow, and
Happy birthday to her for tomorrow from the
and
commission.
I hope that within the next couple of years, she's still here, and we're able to put her on that favorite rock of hers at Captaine, so she can enjoy the day again. This application pertains to a large portion of the area of Captaine, particularly large parcels of the Plateau and Grand Pièce, now known as Cap Matupa. May I present to the committee a map highlighting the plots we are referring to, totaling 143.7 acres, as well as all relevant documents and correspondence. Yeah, we've got two sets for you. Yeah, parts of this were owned by Maryse and parts by Bernard. I will discuss them collectively today. The lots are J234 at Grand Pièce, belonging to Maryse, J235 at Grand Pièce, belonging to Bernard, J287 on the Plateau, belonging to Bernard, Maryse, and Sonia, the sister. J289 on the Plateau, belonging to Bernard. J290, which is where the chapel was located on the Plateau, belonging to Bernard, Maryse, and Sonia. The chapel disappeared just as soon as they took over. J291 on the Plateau, belonging to Maryse. All of this land was originally owned by the late Sir Franz Bontard, a past Chief Justice of the Seychelles. Sir Bontard had 3 children of his own, Sonia, who has now sadly passed, Maryse, and Bernard. When Sir Bontard passed in 1969, he left his most treasured parcel of land, Captaine, to his 3 most treasured possessions, his children. For those of you who has never had the pleasure of visiting Captaine, it is an absolute treasure. The bay is full of marine life, and the rolling green hills are simply stunning. It is also very remote. You can access the plateau via the existing road, but there is no road access to Grand Pièce, which can only be accessed by hiking or by boat. So when you are there, you do feel that you are on an island. Following the passing of her father in 1969, Maryse and her husband, Alan, who were living in England at the time, visited Seychelles for a sabbatical, where with their 2 children and to spend time with their family in mourning. There was a small house at Grand-Pièce, and it was there that they lived as a family for a year and made their dreams of what the future would hold for them. It was during this year they decided to make a permanent move and start a new life in the Seychelles at Cap Terney. Maryse, Alan, and their children briefly returned to England to organize themselves and returned to Seychelles to embark on their new life, opening Seybake, Seychelles' then largest bakery, and living in paradise at Cap Terney. Little did they know that years later, both would be taken from them. The sad story of Seybake is one for another day. Fast forward a number of years, and plans were underway to build a 20-room tourism establishment at Cap Terney, which would have been the primary source of income for Maryse and Alan. Bernard, who was living in South Africa at the time, where his wife was undergoing cancer treatment, was planning to return to Seychelles and build his house at Cap Terney. Albert René, however, had other plans. One day, Maryse received a message from President René through his wife, Geva, to let her know that he had visited Cap Terney, and whilst there, said he felt thirsty, so broke the lock on their door and had a drink in the house. He said how much he loved the land there and offered to pay to fix the lock. I'm not sure if he ever paid for it or not, but this was obviously when the seed was planted and President René decided he wanted Cap Terney. As we all know, if President René wanted something, he would have it. During 1981, both Bernard and Maryse were written by the Seychelles government with an offer to purchase their lots at Cap Terney, with the ultimatum that if the sale was not agreed, the Seychelles government would compulsory acquire the land, paying only what was required by the relevant laws of the time, alluding to the fact that this would be less than the current offer. I understand that at the time, they only paid compensation based on improvements made on the land and any business operations on the land. We were told at the time that land itself had zero value. Being both of their respective largest assets, and with the uncertainty of what the compensation would be if the land was compulsory acquired, Maryse and Bernard both reluctantly accepted the government's offer, having negotiated a slight increase in the sale to cover the cost of stamp duty, which would ultimately have to be paid on the sale. I have handed up the relevant correspondence and documents. The sale was a devastating blow to Maryse and her family, having stripped them of their plans for their future livelihood, as well as taking away a special connection she had to her late father. This also robbed Bernard of his dream of returning to Seychelles to build his family home on his land. Approximately 1 year later, the plateau at Cap Terney was used as a second location for the failed National Youth Service village. Following its failure, Cap Terney was left to ruin, and the land has not been used for any purpose since. Grand-Pièce has never been touched, and the old house has been left to ruin. We visited the land by boat several years ago, and whilst the house had collapsed, the generator still proudly stood amongst the forest, overrunning the area. It is understood that throughout 2013, 2014, and maybe earlier, the Seychelles government was in talks with Emirates Group for the sale of Cap Terney for construction of a luxury hotel. with overwater bungalows for a sale price in the realm of $30 million US. The people of Seychelles vehemently opposed the development, and President Michel announced that the project would not proceed. Since then, there has been no development at Cap Terne, with the exception of the discussion that he would house a rehabilitation center for drug addicts, which we vehemently opposed to President for. Committee, on behalf of Maurice and Bernard, we are asking for the return of this land. As there is no current use for the land, there should be no issue in having all lots returned immediately. Additionally, the previous planning approvals granted for the land should be upheld. I have married to my wife for 39 years and together for 45 years. During this time, my parents-in-law have always spoken about the happiest years of their lives, and this was at Cap Terne. They feel as though they were cheated of life that they had dreamed of there. They later named their house in England Cap Terne. And committee, even to this day, Cap Terne is their email address. As their life draws to a conclusion, it would mean the absolute world for them and us as their family to see their most precious place in the world return to them, so they know that even though they won't be there to live it, their family will enjoy this utopia for generations to come. President Ramkalawan recently said, despite the government having no money to compensate victims of the Rene era, they would return all land. This has given my parents-in-law renewed hope that Cap Terne will be returned to them. I thank you.
Thank you very much for setting that out so clearly. I do have to say we have had calls from the public asking that we speak in Creole. I can't speak Creole, but
Unfortunately, my daughter doesn't
you don't
speak Creole at
You
all.
sounded to me like you had an Australian accent.
Yes, I lived in Australia for 15 years.
Right,
Yeah.
that's what I thought. I thought I recognised that. So you don't speak Creole either. So apologies to the public. I mean, I think it's a fairly clear-cut case. So I guess because they sold it when the provisions came under the new constitution, they were excluded at that time from going back because the government properties that were sold, they construed them as willing seller, willing buyer sort of thing, which excluded these whole group of people that are now coming to us and saying they got a derisory sum of money for their land because the land had no value, as you pointed out. So it falls within a whole category of cases that we have. How long? So I got the 1969. The father died, but how long did he own that property for? The grandfather, do you know?
Oh, for years and years, yeah. It was a plantation. It was a cinnamon, coconut, and patchouli plantation.
It was a piece of property that had a long history with
Long
the
history,
family.
yes, yeah. And there was, you will see in the pack, there is, we came on holiday and we went to visit the lands department and spoke to Mr. Lablache, Pat Lablache. And my mother-in-law asked if she could have the land back. And Mr. Lablache suggested that she wrote a letter. And you will see the handwritten letter, and we've typed it so because it's a bit faded. Because she didn't have the photocopies or anything, she gave the letter, signed it, and wrote a copy herself of what she had given to Mr. Lablache. Hopefully that is still on the file.
Did Mr. Lablache respond to that at all?
No, we never had a word. That was in 1992, January 92.
I mean, I think what happened, when a lot of people came forward seeking, and then if someone had been given compensation before, they got a very low priority. And I think they're still dealing with some of those cases today.
Yes.
Which is appalling, to be quite honest. A good faith provision, but they don't have the capacity. I mean, Mr. Lablache told us they just didn't have the capacity. What they're really looking for, and you've told us the property's undeveloped, it's there, they would like to have it back.
Yes. And the main part of the property has never ever been touched. It is so sad when we went to visit it, seeing the generator sitting there in the middle of the forest, with nothing around it.
So did this foil their plans to come back to Seychelles? Mr. Bonnetard stayed in South Africa.
Yes.
And Mrs. Wilmot, did she stay in the UK
No,
then?
I will be here again on Wednesday and follow up on the Sebek case because it was a lot of malice and persecution at the time. So unfortunately, we had to move to the UK.
Forced exile sort of
Yes.
situation. But where did they, how long, I know I'm not going to ask, I'm going to wait until Wednesday.
Copy of that letter?
On the next page, I've actually typed it.
Oh, you've typed it.
Yes.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. I have the original with me here.
Buildings there still. I mean, there's the GVI center. They're using the old NYS buildings.
Yeah. Are they being used? I'm not sure if they're all dilapidated, aren't they?
No, they're used by the GVI, the Global Volunteers International Group.
Yeah. But on the parcels on the plateau there where the buildings were, I think probably there's nothing. It's all dilapidated, the sections.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
NYS buildings have all fallen apart.
Yeah.
And
And the chapel, the chapel went. Yeah.
a long time back.
Yes.
Yeah. But most of it is not being used.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's still owned by government.
That's right.
Yes. Yeah. And Cap Matupa has not been built on or anything. I mean,
No.
nothing's happened there. I mean,
No.
I've walked around the area quite a bit. I know it well.
It's a lovely area. We spend, whenever we have a spare Sunday, we do go there by boat and anchor in the bay and
there's
really
a
trying to relive.
There's a big marshland.
That's right.
As well,
That's
which
at the back.
needs
Yeah.
Rehabilitating. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I
And
was one of the people who objected to the hotel project at the time.
Yeah,
As well.
thank God.
So you said, so there was originally planning approval given to develop this tourism,
That's correct. Yeah.
and then they acquired the land.
Yes, soon after. I think it
Soon
was a
after
couple of
giving that.
weeks, couple of months after the planning permission was given, that Mr. Rene decided it's got to be theirs. And I've got my doubts because when he walked the property and he broke into the home, I'm sure he was scouting for his own house as well, because later on he took the property at Barbaron for his own house.
What do you think motivated them just taking all of this land away from the family?
Oh, I think it was just malice. We didn't belong, and he did his best to make sure, and he carried on, which I'll explain on Wednesday, with the bakery, that we had to go.
Of the justifications at the time was that when the land was acquired for the second NYS village was partly because people had objected so much to NYS being on one of the outer islands.
That's right, yes.
Yeah, the idea was
Yeah.
to have the
But there was no need
village
for
of
them to
Koiti.
take the peninsula, which is Cap Matupa, because that's never ever been touched or used.
No, it was the plateau.
So if we say, if is the intention if the land was returned to develop it, and you said the same planning approval?
Well, we'd love to have because ever since Emirates was denied the go-ahead for the development, I think the whole of Cap Matupa has been designated to be national park, and if it was returned to us, we'd love to have a section so we can still do something on it.
An echo place, right? Environmentally
Definitely, yes. Yeah.
fitting in.
There was never any intention of putting a road to it. It was always going to be by boat, so it'd be like an island feel to the property. My wife, in the end, when she was growing up, she was a teenager, and it was hard for her to go to parties and so on. So she had to turn down parties because she had to dress to do the crossing, and then she had to wear different shoes to go out. So it was very hard those days. But now she appreciates how good it was.
Guess we will call Mr. Leblanche, as we always do, in all these cases, and give him an opportunity to respond, and also to respond to the request
Yes.
that the property be returned, and see what the government's position. I mean, he represents the government when he comes here. That's what he told us, but I must clarify next time he comes that he's still, and see what their position is. But I mean, I think it's, for us, it's a
Because
easy.
I personally went with Mr. Lablache when they were taking it, and because he was a school friend of mine, and he probably went to Captain himself as a guest when we had it, and telling him, come on, you've got to give a bit more. And he said, Jose, Mr. Rene says land has no value. We're giving you for the improvements you've made, and also for the plantation income that's been generated.
Not a lot of land here in
Yeah.
Seychelles, right? And to say it has no value. But I understand that's how they perceived it at the time. I mean, that perception meant that you were only ever going to get derisory compensation, right? So it's difficult then to say willing seller, willing buyer,
Yes, correct.
which is what we keep being told. But
Yeah.
it's difficult to.
And as a young man about to get married, our plans of a little hotel there was dashed straight away, because we had such good ideas, good plans, and all gone.
Just the outcome of the life you thought you would have,
That's right.
basically. No. Okay, so I think it's very clear what's happened to us, very clear. We can understand it. Good. Makes it easier. We have no further questions unless there's anything you would like to add.
No,
No?
nothing else.
Can we have a copy of your presentation?
Yes, I will. I can give you that.
I'll give it to me. And then I will make.
Yeah, that would be great. And so we're going to see you again.
I can give you another copy of the whole. Save you
Yeah. As,
photocopying.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
thank you. And we're going to see you again on Wednesday
On Wednesday, yes.
at 9 o'clock. Is that
That
right?
should be a quick one. Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Well, this was quick too, right? Yeah. Now, I'm very curious to hear about the bakery and everything that happened. So looking forward to seeing you on Wednesday. And
It's a
thank you
pleasure.
very much for
Thank you
coming
for having
again
us.
and representing. And we will adjourn and return at 11 o'clock. Thank you.
Thank you for listening.
Very much.
All right.